Weekly sci-fi segment. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Show on GameSHOUT.
Welcome back to GameSHOUT Radio. This is Sci-Fi Thursday. Yes, this is our weekly review of science fiction, science fact, and we're opening up a whole new, interesting, fun little segment called Science in the Studio. We're going to do some science experiments right here in the studio, and you know, if you're brave enough, maybe you'll follow along right at home.
It takes a lot of bravery.
Yeah, and a microwave this time, so you better get yourself a microwave. You're going to need one to do all of our experiments, along with some grapes and some old CDs you don't mind completely destroying. Now with me tonight, of course, is my radioactive sidekick, Jadrie, and the whole rest of the crew here at GameSHOUT. Yes, but first, before we get to our science experiments, we do have some very interesting science news that I'm just dying to share with you. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, and as we circulating all over the internet, the Europe's Mars Express spacecraft claims to have detected ice and water on Mars.
But now, didn't our probe do that like just last year or something?
Well, this probe is doing it in a different way. They're using a highly specialized radar imagery system that actually allows them to take subsurface imagery up to 5 kilometers of depth, essentially taking a cross-section of the Earth. If you cut the planet right in half and started looking down the depths of the planet, well, this technology is supposed to allow them to identify different substances as they go through all these different layers, because as the radar rays, essentially, as the radar signals go through the Earth, as they hit different substances, different amounts of the radar signal will be bounced back up. So as each layer changes, whenever you see those cross segments and you see all those different layers of material, as they hit each layer, it'll get a reflection, and they'll be able to map that onto their system and try to figure out, where the different layers begin, where the different layers end. It can be used, for example, on Earth, they use this technology to very accurately map the depth and the layout of the ocean floor. I don't know if you've ever seen any of these cool 3D maps where they kind of show you all the bumps and ridges on the bottom of the oceans.
Yeah, I've seen them.
So they use a similar sort of radar technology. They've also done the same thing on Venus to get a good look at the surface of the planet through the clouds. Well, this one will allow them to take a look underneath the surface of Mars and try to identify water. Now, what they've done is they've looked at a crater that was essentially filled over with debris and lava over the years, so it became a big flat lake or basin called Chryse Planitia, and they also looked near the northern polar cap. Now this 250 kilometer wide crater structure that lies about 1.5 and 2.5 kilometers below the surface of Mars, because of all the dust that's settled in, could hold water, because that's where an impact crater lay, and of course water would pool into those if there was liquid water on the surface of Mars at some time in the past. Now, their radar actually did detect boundaries in this structure that would indicate water. Now, they've found ice also near the northern crater, where the signal seemed to go so smoothly through, because ice transmits radio very well, that they assume it can only be water. Water and ice. Now, notice the word assume here. They don't know for sure. It could be a different substance that transmits radio signals just as well as water. It could be something that reflects it very similarly to water, and they won't really know until they send something that can actually burrow down those 2 kilometers and take samples. So that's our latest update from Mars. Now the research satellite has been orbiting Mars for a while. It did have some initial problems deploying the Mars Express from Europe. It did have some problems deploying, and once it arrived, they couldn't actually use this technology at first because the ionization of Mars's atmosphere caused by the sun makes it difficult to actually take readings of the surfaces of the planet's subsurface. So they have to wait for just the right conditions. Thankfully, those have just arrived, and they will remain ideal until May 2006. So they will be taking a lot more readings until then. The next regions they plan to look at are in the southern hemisphere, including the South Pole. So they're going to see if they have a similar reading in the north and south poles of Mars. Well, also in science news, as you might have remembered a while back, we reported on Pluto's second moon. Well, Pluto looks like it's going to be degraded potentially from status as planet down into a broader category of objects called Kuiper Belt objects. Now, the Kuiper Belt is a large region of space with lots and lots of bizarre objects, and it rests just beyond Neptune's orbit. And as our space detecting technology has been improving over the years, you know, with the Hubble Space Telescope and various other technologies, well, we've been finding more and more objects inside the space, inside this region of the Kuiper Belt. Now, you might have also heard of 2003 UB313, which was dubbed the 10th planet at some point. They've also recently detected a very unusual planet called 2003 EL61. And this bizarre planet, which is believed to have 2 moons orbiting it, is shaped like a cigar.
Okay. That's an unusual... Yeah.
Yeah, you see this object, which is it rotates once every 4 hours. So you have to imagine this thing is spinning on its long axis once every 4 hours, and it's about 2,000 kilometers long. So it's an absolutely massive object, 2,000 kilometers, that's spinning once every 4 hours. Yeah. And it's believed to have about 2 objects that could be moons. There's one of them is about 300 kilometers wide. The other one's only about 150 kilometers, and they're orbiting at 40 degrees different from each other. So it's a very strange reading. We're starting to uncover a lot of really weird, mysterious stuff out in this region of space known as the Kuiper Belt. Pluto happens to be the largest one. That's how we've identified it as a planet. But it could just be, you know, clumped into the category of objects out here with all these other Kuiper Belt objects. Otherwise, we're going to have to start naming them all planets, and next thing you know, we just won't have the boundary between what is a planet and what is just an object in the Kuiper Belt.
Wait, so we got this thing floating around that looks like a cigar, and it's got 2 little balls circling around it?
Yeah.
Oh, let's not even go there. That's, oh my gosh. And I bet they're going to call it Planet X, right?
Well, no, right now they're just leaving it with its scientific, uninteresting name, 2003, because that was the year it was discovered, EL61. I don't know. I guess they ran out of good names after a while.
I got a better name for it. The better name for it. We'll call it,
And how do you translate that to all those other languages around the world?
Oh yeah, everybody, all the men know that language. Oh yeah, every man knows that. The women didn't understand that, but every man in the world listening to this right now, their ears perked up and they went, yeah, I know exactly what he's saying.
But
by the way,
completely.
Only those without enough testosterone wouldn't understand it. If you got too much estrogen in your system, you wouldn't understand what I said. So guys, how many of you understood?
Remember,
I know Vicious didn't.
2,000 kilometers long.
2,000 kilometers. Oh, baby. That's looking for the rings of Saturn. That is amazing, though. It really is. That's, I mean, I can't even imagine a planet actually shaped like a cigar. That's really very, very cool.
Right. I definitely look forward to the point at which we're able to take a satellite that can really take very, very good images and sort of throw it into the Kuiper Belt, just have it spin around in that region of space, taking close-up photographs of all these bizarre objects, and hopefully we'll get a better understanding of what's lying just outside of our solar system.
Yeah, it's the reject area. The experiments that didn't quite make it, we put them over.
It's all the
there,
leftover stuff when our solar system formed, kind of like the asteroid belt between, the inner planets and the outer planets. So
Wait. Asteroid? Kuiper?
Yes.
Oh, no. Thanks, there you go.
Well, taking us from outer space into the mysterious realm of the internet, so a group of students and Aaron Shear and his colleagues at Tel Aviv University in Israel have believe that they have found a solution to internet viruses.
Oh, really? That's a good
this
idea.
is cool.
Yes, they propose developing a network of what they call honeypot computers. Now, these computers are going to be distributed all around the internet, and they're going to look like very vulnerable systems and really attract viruses to come and infect them. But these systems are going to be equipped with specialized software that's going to analyze any virus that tries to infect them, automatically program a counter virus or a fix for this virus, and then distribute it around the internet as if it was a virus itself. So in other words, this computer is going to automatically create viral code that will immunize computers from viruses.
That is just too cool. What a great idea. Wonder who came up with that.
See, now the major problem right now with combating viruses is that essentially you have to have these network hubs that pick up traces of viruses. They get a copy of the virus. A programmer has to then analyze the virus. They have to figure out a solution. They have to find identification tags inside that code to distribute to their antiviral software, and it's just too slow a reaction time to effectively combat viruses on the internet. Now, this automated procedure will look at the viruses and how they try to infect computers. For example, if there's a port vulnerability in Windows that this virus is taking advantage of, they will try to distribute a fix for this virus by attacking the same port. So in other words, it'll use the same vulnerability in your computer to infect your computer with a cure. So I think that's
virus vaccines.
Exactly. It's like a self-vaccinating system.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of medicinal cures right now involve just using a very weakened form of the actual virus to build up your body's tolerance. So this kind of works a little similar to nature, except for the honeypots. I mean,
yeah, well, that's what they call it, the honeypot, to sort of attract them in.
That's pretty cool.
The whole, computer and motherboard and all that.
Well, of course, viruses rarely infect hardware per se. They mostly take advantages of problems in software, such as port vulnerabilities and stuff like that in Windows. So it's still a really interesting way to fight this problem. Now, getting from the problems of viruses out there to chemicals screwing around in your brain, they've done a very interesting survey of what exactly coffee does to your brain. Now, I'm sure a lot of
this
you
ought to be interesting.
Are big fans. Yeah, a lot of you are probably big fans of coffee and maybe drink coffee to keep you up at night playing video games. Well, you know what? That caffeine could give you a really big edge in video games.
Really?
Well, yeah, Mountain Dew told us that, didn't they?
Well, see, what they did here is they took their subjects and they made them fast for about 4 to 6 hours and make sure they didn't have any caffeine or nicotine for at least 24 hours. So, they're fresh test subjects. And then they gave half of them a cup of really strong coffee with about 100 milligrams of caffeine. And then the other ones they give, a caffeine-free placebo drink. So it tastes like, decaf coffee. Now, after 20 minutes, all the participants, they all went into these MRI scanners, and they gave them a memory and concentration test. Now, the way this test works is it flashes a whole bunch of capital letters at you, and then suddenly it stops. and then it shows you another letter and it says, was this letter the second to last letter that you just saw? And then you have to put a yes or a no. So in other words, it's checking your very near short-term memory. And the people that did this test and took the caffeine, did a lot better than the people that didn't take the caffeine. And then they decided, well, we're going to redo this test, and they swapped their test groups. So everyone that had the caffeine the first time had no caffeine the second time, and vice versa. And again, the people that got the caffeine that did worse the first time did a whole lot better the second time. The people that didn't get caffeine did worse the second time. So it really effectively showed that concentration and short-term memory and sort of this analysis of mental storage. It's like the type of memory that's used when you look up a telephone number and then you have to remember it just before dialing it. Or if you're playing Counter-Strike, you want to remember that you saw a friendly guy run down that corridor or not, so when you meet him in the next corridor over, you remember that it's a friendly guy, you don't start shooting him. So there are a lot of it does show that caffeine can help you with memory and analysis, in all sorts of different environments.
Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes if I don't have my Pepsi in the morning, I'm not quite as sharp. But I don't think it's necessary. I think just getting a good night's sleep will do just as much good in most cases.
Now, on the topic of memory, I don't know, can you remember where you were on September 11th, 2001, when you first heard about the attacks on the Twin Towers?
I can.
Yep. I know exactly where I was. I also know exactly where I was when we were told that John F. Kennedy was shot.
Right. It's similar to the Kennedy assassination. It's just more modern because, Kennedy was killed a long time ago, and there's more and more people that, literally don't remember.
Well, yeah,
because
exactly.
They were born after it. But how about this? Can you remember about the day before? Can you remember anything about September 10th?
No, not a thing.
Nothing.
So why can you remember one day?
Yes, I do.
And not
It was
the other?
Sunday. It was Sunday. Because September 11th was a Monday.
But here, are you analyzing facts that you know about the date, or are you actually recalling a memory?
Well, I'm analyzing the facts.
Right. Now see, to understand why you can recall some memories, such as like about 9/11, and not others like 9/10 or 9/9, we have to go through a little bit of brain science here. Now the first stop for sensory perceptions that you receive is the thalamus, where unimportant information is discarded and the rest is sent out to different parts of the brain, including the amygdala. Now there, the stimuli is quickly scanned to see if it's vitally important to your survival. And if you're in big trouble, it triggers a rush of adrenaline. Now that information is also going for processing at other parts of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex, where more thorough analysis can be performed, and if you're not really in trouble after all, this sort of knee-jerk reaction is stopped. But now, if you're in real trouble, the adrenaline effects keep going, and the hippocampus, the part of the brain that controls memory, jumps into red alert mode. It starts to store everything that you see and hear and feel, and imprints those memories deeper than usual. The purpose of this stress-induced memory boost is to allow you to recall these events next time you're in a similar life-threatening situation. But there's a side effect too. The hippocampus is only going to read out memories linked to that situation. So if you're about to be hit by a big truck again, you'll remember the last time you were almost hit by a big truck, but you'll have a hard time remembering other sort of unrelated information. It's similar to like stage fright. When you get up on stage and you're really afraid of everyone making fun of you, you can't remember your script.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
Now see, as time goes by and you start to receive other stimulus, your brain checks those against that emergency record it made when the truck nearly ran you over. It sees you see another truck, well, maybe you go into panic mode. Or no, well, that's just a toy truck this time. Well, maybe you hear a truck and you go into panic mode. Well, no, this time it's just on TV. So on and so forth. You have to train your brain that you only need to go into panic mode when you have a very specific scenario, like an actual truck about to run you over. But now what happens if your brain doesn't learn that property? See, that's when you develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Now,
Okay.
Right. You must have heard of post-traumatic stress disorder. It's
Well,
become really, really
Yeah,
popular.
with regard to Vietnam stress and such, but
Oh yes, and all the world wars and even other incidents that aren't necessarily wars, but just stressful events such as 9/11. You know, I'm sure a lot of the people that were running away from those buildings as they were collapsing developed post-traumatic stress disorder. In fact, it affects nearly 30% of all Americans who endure highly stressful trauma.
What about,
Okay.
say, like a bad relationship?
Well,
Yeah.
probably emotional trauma, not physical trauma, and in those cases your brain it doesn't respond in the same way. You're not threatened. You know, if it's relational trauma, as in someone you were dating starts to rape you, well, yeah, then you might have post-traumatic stress disorder. But if they just dump you and walk away, it's not the same thing. Okay, but what's really interesting here is that research into various drugs are showing us various possibilities in treating post-traumatic stress disorder. And here, the most interesting one that I saw was a small study involving a type of drugs commonly used to control blood pressure called beta blockers. Now, the researcher, Roger Pittman, a psychiatrist at Harvard Medical School, began asking patients being wheeled into the Massachusetts General Hospital ER who had just endured severe trauma, such as car accidents or rape, if they wanted to partake in a PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, treatment. Only 22 agreed, but half were given the beta blocker propranolol, and the others were given sort of a sugar pill, placebo. Now, shortly after recovery, they were asked to recount their tale, and Pittman recorded it. Then a few months later, the people in the study were asked to listen to the recording while having their heart rate and other vital signs monitored. Sure enough, about a third in the placebo group exhibited a panic response just hearing about what happened to them. They had the post-traumatic stress disorder. But, and here's what really blew me away, not one of the people who were administered the propranolol panicked. Not one of them developed
that's weird.
post-traumatic stress disorder. If further research can show us that this drug can block that sort of hyper-memory storage process that goes on after a traumatic event, this could really take a huge bite out of post-traumatic stress disorder. Hospitals could keep these pills on hand and administer them to trauma patients as they come in. The Army could make them standard issue for particularly traumatic engagements. It could really become a revolution in putting a stop to post-traumatic stress disorder.
So is it like a long-term effect, or is it like you have to take it every day?
Well, there are a lot of other... No, this is a one-time effect. You take it right when you have the traumatic event, and it stops your brain from recording it in such a way that you develop post-traumatic stress disorder.
That's interesting.
That's awesome.
that is weird.
Yeah, so it's like you take it right when you've got the problem, and then you don't develop longer-term problems. There are a lot of other studies going into treatments for people who already have post-traumatic stress disorder, but we won't be able to go into that today. We've got to take a quick break, but then we come back with science here in the studio, and we've got that right after this.
Millions of people love Newegg.com. Go on that website and check it out. You'll see what I'm talking about. There's a whole testimonial page. People are using the L word when it comes to Newegg.com. They say love. I love Newegg.com. How is Newegg.com earning this kind of devotion? Well, they sell computers, components, and electronics, that's true. But it's the great price, it's the huge selection, it's the fair shipping, and it's because the customer service is so great. They actually care about your satisfaction. They have video cards, routers, wireless networking equipment, DVD players, hard drives, software, digital cameras, and unbelievable fair shipping. So, I can't sing the praises of Newegg.com enough, and neither can anyone else. So whether you need a motherboard or the mother of all TVs, go to Newegg.com. You'll see what their millions of happy customers are raving about. Once you know,
Welcome back to
Newegg.com.
GameSHOUT Radio. This is Sci-Fi Thursday, and I'm your host, Soulrift, and with me is my microwave assistant, Jadrie, and we're going to do some
Indeed.
science in the studio.
We've got some nifty little experiments made especially for your microwave.
That's right. Microwaves do a lot, like they cook food and make things burn, like Andy described, but they also, make CDs sparkle and make grapes emit balls of plasma. I actually have a lot of fun myself with burning CDs in the microwave when I first discovered this particular test. I mean, now you have to remember, all of our tests here we were administered by trained scientists, and although you can try them out at home, you probably don't want to do it with someone else's microwave. If you screw up, you can damage a microwave with these experiments because there's no food to absorb the microwave radiation. If you do these for very short periods of times, like I'll microwave a CD maybe 3 to 5 seconds, it's okay. If you start microwaving it for 3 to 5 minutes, you're probably going to end up with problems in a busted microwave. Now, here's the trick with the CDs. You just take any old CD-ROM that you don't like, but make sure it's like a real CD, the silver ones. I remember we used to get a lot of these AOL CDs. I guess they've stopped doing that now, but they give you these CDs with like 3 days or 3 months of free dial-up access, trying to get you hooked on their service. And what did we do with all these AOL CDs? Well, I microwaved them. You put the thing in the microwave, you turn on the microwave for a couple of seconds, and what you see is lightning bolts start jerking all around on top of the surface of the lightning. It's really, really cool.
You do it with the light off. It's really cool. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Now, here's the thing. The way it works is the aluminum layer in that CD, which is actually stamped out, is very, very thin. And all these bumps and ridges, they serve as pockets that kind of catch the microwave radiation and form static electricity. And then this vaporizes parts of the aluminum, and then the electricity jumps across the surface of the CDs through this vaporized aluminum, creating that lightning effect. Now, I do remember, you probably don't want to be trying this at home unless you've got a spare microwave. It probably won't blow up and kill you, but you can damage the microwave and make it unusable in the future. Now, there's also
it leaves a really neat pattern in the CD. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yeah, it does leave a very interesting fractal pattern inside the CD itself. And if you keep microwaving it even longer, the fractal pattern creates very good microwave antennas, which then absorb heat, will light up the aluminum until it glows really hot. Then it'll start to melt the polyvinyl plastic that serves as a protective layer for the CD, will emit all sorts of toxic and noxious chemicals, eventually melt away and explode into flame. Now, you don't want to do that. You want to microwave it for maybe 2 or 3 seconds, just get a cool lightning show, a cool pattern on your CD. Don't keep it going for much longer than that.
Yeah, please, don't blow anything up, okay? I don't want your parents coming back and saying, "You said you could do that on GameSHOUT."
That's right. Now, you can also do a similar experiments with grapes, right, Jadrie?
Yeah, you can use just your normal grape you get from the supermarket. Just cut it in half, just right down the middle of it, and so you still have the two, like the side of the stem and the other end of it lengthwise, right in the middle there, and then you cut it in half again, so you've got the two halves, like the bottom cup of it is split right in the middle, but you leave them connected. Then you just dry the grape off, put it on a piece of like a platter, and then you have to put it in your microwave. There's a special spot that sometimes you should look for your microwave. It's called the hot spot. It's where microwaves are intensely focused. You have to use
This is GameSHOUT Radio, the #1 talk game station in the world. Visit GameSHOUT.com for more info. GameSHOUT.